All right. My camera is having trouble focusing this morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Yay. It's 2025. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad to have All right. I think it's good now. All right. I am testing the limits of my hardware today because I just thought it would be fun to see how far I could push my computer this morning. So if you did not notice, there is a little mini Phoenix right here. It's actually not Phoenix. I think it's Bowser or something like that. I picked up the new Stream Avatars game extension. So if you guys would like this, I believe I have it set up so that anyone who is a follower is able to create a little stream avatar. There's a little extension available in my Twitch extensions that you're able to like customize your little avatar, and then you show up on the bottom here. It shouldn't be too disruptive, I'm hoping. If it gets really disruptive, you know, I might look at getting rid of it later down the road, but right now I think it's just a little bitty, you know, little bitty person right there. Which might be fun for you guys to play with. But the reason I'm stressing my system is because I decided to order more RAM, and now I'm regretting that decision. And I'm like, oh, did I really need more RAM? So I'm trying to justify it in my head. You know, there's reasons that I ordered the RAM. So I'm seeing how my existing RAM does, you know, running a game in the background while I'm running the stream and then some other stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But if you guys would like to make an avatar, I think you just have to be a follower in order to gain access to it. That at least was what I had in mind when I set it up. All right, so we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. The meat and potatoes of our episode today will be going through our second chapter of The Keepers of the Elven-Rings book by Free League Publishing. That chapter is called I think it's called The Days Darken, or The Days Darken, Chapter 2. And this is going to be the plot hooks for lore masters. Exclaimer, big exclaimer, this is not supposed to be stuff that you guys as players are aware of. This is huge spoilers. If your lore master is intending to utilize any of the information, any of these chapters, or specifically in this chapter, do not watch. You know, mute the stream or whatever you need to do. This is not intended for player eyes. This is intended for lore masters. That being said, if you decide to watch anyways because you are a rebel, you know, feel free to stay. But I will implore you to be kind to your lore master and not metagame any of the information that you learn via my stream. Because I don't want to be the cause of strife at people's tables. All right, so we've got that to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit about D&D stuff because I haven't had a chance to talk about D&D stuff for a little bit. I also want to talk about a couple things about Tolkien stuff and an upcoming game I'm going to be in, a Lord of the Rings 5e game that I'm going to be in as a player instead of a lore master. So I've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So let's jump into it. I will preface this by saying my baby has not woken up for his morning feed yet, so there is a chance that I will have to take a 15 to 20 minute break at some point during the stream today if he does decide to wake up. But he's going through some phases right now with his sleep, so I'm having a lot of difficulty predicting his sleep schedule these days, so we'll get through what we can. All right. Before we begin, two other things. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about today. You might notice I have a different background behind me. Oop! Ta-da! I actually last night got the itching to rearrange our entire front living room arrangement. So now you don't see our old camping gear and everything in the background behind me. Instead, you get this lovely view of my front yard and all the wintry, snowy goodness. Right now it's just about 9 a.m., so the sun is slowly coming up here, and it'll get brighter as the stream goes on, I'm sure. But I figured that was a nice little change of background for you guys. I'm going to blur the background though, because it makes my face pop a bit more. Another thing is I have a poll for you guys. So the information is in now officially for the our ask for you guys to submit names for to name our little stream dragon. So now we're going to start our poll. We have 14 different names to choose from. We're going to do it as an elimination round, so 2 names against 2 names until we eventually get down to the final 2 for the finals. So today, to start us off with our first round of names to vote, we will go with Chungle and Morgoth. Oh, that's very, very difficult to see. All right, let's change this a little bit. Boop-a-doop. That's very hard to read. Let me fix this for you guys. But essentially, you will vote for either Morgoth or Chungle, whichever one you feel would be better for our little dragon up top here. And the winner of this round will go on to the second round for voting. So feel free to, you can cast your vote by typing in the chat. So you had to type in the full name of your choice. So if it's Morgoth, you type in Morgoth. If it's Chungle, you type in Chungle. I don't think it accounts for spelling errors, so just be sure that you are typing it correctly. Let me fix up the way that you guys are viewing this poll, because it is not pretty to look at. Let's make it bigger. 20. Oops, that's way too big. Background. Alright, I think that's as good as I can make it. help text, maybe if I make it fully white. All right. Perfect. That's, I think, as good as I can make this for you guys. So round 1. Name the dragon. All right. Is that all right? That's what we're going to do. All right. So round 1, name our dragon here. First options are Morgoth or Chungle. Just type in the chat which one you would like to see as the winner of this round, and the winner today will go on to round 2. All right. That is all I'm going to say on that bit. All right. Now we're going to get into some of the stuff. So, like I said before, let's actually switch up. No, we won't switch up. So let's talk about D&D first, because I actually have a little bit of D&D stuff that has occurred since I last talked with you guys a week ago. So we did have a D&D session, my Friday D&D session. We actually ended up, one of our players was actually sick for our Friday session. So we ended up, the next part of our ongoing story, we were finishing up a battle and just about to dig up a grave for a piece of that missing player's character's backstory. So in light of her not being able to make the session, what we ended up doing was a little beach episode, as we called it, where we went and we fought in the pits. And we actually fought against a Draco Hydra. We say beach episode by meaning just like a little R&R by our characters' standards. The Draco Hydra, I've actually ran a Draco Hydra before. I really, really like the stat block. I really like, I like the Hydra stat block in general, but the Draco Hydra is a little bit more forgiving of a stat block. The problem with a Draco Hydra is it's really, really, really easy for the players to just one-shot it. Its HP pool isn't the greatest, so it's... In that regard, it can sometimes feel underwhelming, but our DM ran the encounter very well, and he got off his breath weapon 3 times actually, which was amazing, and we were able to, because we were in an arena. We weren't able to space out strategically or anything like that, so our DM was actually able to utilize those the terrain to his advantage in order to make the encounter more challenging. And our sorcerer ended up casting darkness on himself, and then surrounding him and we have a little, I think she's an artificer character, so those two kind of more squishy characters were able to chill in the background while we myself being the barbarian as well as our druid were able to go into the forefront and there we go. We were able to go into the front of the sorry, I'm playing with the vote thing. We were able to go into the front and kind of take the brunt of the damage for those squishier players. It wasn't a highly challenging combat, but it was semi-challenging. We did want to continue on. We were going to fight a stat block called the Hunger, which those of you who are aware of the stat block know exactly the one I'm talking about. But couple things happened, and one of our players got a call that he was going to have to. He had an early morning flight, and he thought he was leaving for the airport at 6 a.m. But it was really their flight was taking off at 6 a.m. So he had to go to bed so that he could wake up early for that flight. So we ended up cutting the session short, but it was a lot of fun. More recently, actually this past Saturday, I believe it was, I actually played a game on our Westmarch server, the Forged Concordance. So for those of you who aren't aware, I am an admin on a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance. We're a decent-sized Westmarch. We've got about 1,000 active players on the server. We do regular activity checks every 4 months to make sure that we aren't accumulating inactive players. So unlike some Discord servers that have thousands upon thousands of members, but only maybe 500 or so are active, we keep our membership up to date so that we always have an active account of our player base. Anyways, so the Forged Concordance is a D&D 5e 2014 version Westmarch server where players get to play at various DM tables in a shared world system. Our fantasy setting is a world called Galdrisset, and the basis of the game is that we are playing as members of a mercenary guild hall, and so we go up and we complete various jobs and that kind of stuff for the guild, for various quest givers. I have not played a game on the server as a player in forever, since August of 2022. August 2022. So it's been a year and a half since I played. No. Year and a half? No, 2.5 years since I last played on the server. And that is not for lack of wanting to play. It's just most of the time when I had free time to play, I was either going to DM a session or I was busy doing admin work for the server. So I haven't really dedicated my time to playing as a player on the server for a long time. And then I got pregnant, and then I, gave birth. And so really I haven't set aside a lot of time to play. But this game, so a longtime friend of mine, who is also a DM on that server, decided to post a game, and it was for the rank that I was able to play, and I was like, okay. And he posted a flexibility of the start time, which actually worked really, really well for me for my baby's sleep schedule, because I was able to start at 6 a.m., which is when my baby is most likely to sleep a longer period of time, greater than 30 to 45 minutes. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. My husband was willing to help me out with it. He was going to be home for that morning, so I was like, yeah, let's try it. So I posted I posted a list for the game, assembled a list of some good players, and we ended up winning the game, or winning the picking for the game. So we actually played, and this game that this DM did, we actually descended into the first layer of the abyss. Our quest giver was a kooky kind of fellow who was collecting various body parts and experimenting on creatures and that kind of stuff. And he wanted some creatures from the abyss. So we descended to the first layer of the abyss, which is kind of a barren wasteland, cracked, red, hot, scorched earth, that kind of thing. We fought against, I'm trying to think of what the creature's name is, but it was kind of like a tentacly worm kind of creature, and a bunch of dragon wormlings for our first combat. And then I don't even remember what the second combat was, but our third combat we fought against, what are they called? I think that they're called fletchlings? No, not fletchlings. Anywho, we fought against 3 other creatures in this combat. One was a flying creature with a big breath weapon. I think it was just a reskinned dragon. I think it was, he was like a dragonborn, but I think that when he actually talked about the stat block, it was supposed to be a dragon incarnated into a dragonborn, or masquerading as a dragonborn. In any case, we played with that for a while. So the other 2 stat blocks were kind of supporty, castery type stat blocks, and thank goodness we disposed of one of those right away, because both of them could cast Wall of Fire, and just one Wall of Fire was enough to really knock us on our butts. We ended up having at least one person go down in that combat, just with the dragon's breath weapon and the Wall of Fire and that kind of stuff. And there was a good use of different layers and terrain and that kind of stuff. So each of us, we really, really, really had to be smart about our positioning and our use of movement in order to best beat the combat. But it was a lot of fun. And we had a good group, good role play with one another, good use of our resources. We ended up doing really well in that game, and really inspired me, or reminded me how much I liked playing on my server, how much I liked playing on in this shared environment with a bunch of other people. And I think whenever you play a good game of D&D, particularly one-shots, because campaigns have their ebbs and their flows. They have times of great climax in action and storyline and that kind of stuff, and times of lull where the storyline, the plot, everything's kind of slowing down or going through a lower point in the story, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the natural progression of a campaign style play. But with a one-shot, it's kind of nice because everything is wrapped up in one session. You have your plot hook, your climax, your finale, and then it's resolved and wrapped up, and everything is tied off in a neat little bow, which I really like about one-shots. And having that kind of experience reignites my passion to DM or be a lore master. So I really appreciated being able to play at my buddy's table. He's an amazing dungeon master, and just a really good at character concepts, really good at encouraging role play, and giving players agency over the choices that they make, and making their choices have an impact on the story. So all that to say, I had a very good weekend when it comes to D&D. I really enjoyed myself, and it just reignited the passion I have in my heart to continue dungeon mastering. All right. So with that said, there was one other thing I wanted to briefly mention, and that is that it was Tolkien's birthday 3 days ago, on January 3rd. I only mentioned this because Tolkien is so integral to the the content that I stream about, and I really wanted to highlight a little bit about Tolkien. So I came across this post, or this information the other day, which I thought was maybe something that we don't often talk about when it comes to Tolkien. And I want to read this post here. All right, so Tolkien married Edith, his wife, in Warwick, England on March 22nd, 1916, before leaving for the war. His battalion was moved to France in 1916, where Tolkien served as a communications officer during the Battle of the Somme until he came down with trench fever on 27th of October and was moved back to England on November 8th. Many of his fellow servicemen, as well as many of his closest friends, were killed in the war. During his recovery in a cottage in Great Haywood, Staffordshire, England, he began to work on what he called the Book of Lost Tales, beginning with the fall of Gondolin. Through 1917 and 1918, his illness kept reoccurring, but he had recovered enough to do home service at various camps and was promoted to lieutenant. When he was stationed at the Thurtell Bridge, East Yorkshire, one day he and Edith went walking in the woods at the nearby Ruse, and Edith began to dance for him in a clearing thick with hemlock plants in bloom. This incident inspired the account of the meeting of Beren and Luthien, and Tolkien often referred to Edith as his Luthien. And then here is a quote from Tolkien to his son Michael from letter 43. Only the rarest good fortune brings together the man and the woman who are really as it were destined for one another, and capable of a great and splendid love. And I just thought that that was a nice piece of Tolkien lore to highlight. Tolkien, as we know, served in the war. I wasn't actually aware that he had been struck and ill during the war. So, there's a little bit of information for you guys. But a really big happy birthday to Tolkien for January 3rd. All right. So, we will go now into the meat and potatoes of our stream today. Let me just move us over. All right. This is Perils of the Last Road. So I guess I'll start off by reading the opening introduction to this chapter. Let's zoom in a little. No, too much. Alright. There was a time when the Eldar ruled the western lands of Middle-earth. They built great cities and mighty strongholds. Their hosts marched against the dark fortress of Morgoth and challenged him. There was a time when elven kings and champions faced the chief servants of the enemy in single combat and bested them. There was a time when elf songs echoed through the woods and dells, and dark things fled at the sight of the light in the faces of the firstborn. Those times are long gone. The elves who still remain east of the sea now dwell in seclusion in remote or hidden realms, and they have almost become creatures of legend. But Sauron remembers. In Mirkwood, where shadows lie thick among the rotting trees, the necromancer never forgot his old foes. Known as the Lord of Werewolves, then the Lord of Gifts, and eventually the Lord of the Rings, Sauron took many guises over the ages, but each time he was humbled by the elves of the West. Now, with their power waning, they are no longer his chief foes, yet the Dark Lord remains consumed by a lust for vengeance. If the last remnants of the elves now seek peace to enjoy their final days in Middle-earth, he will ensure they find none. The present chapter details 3 of Sauron's plans to bring ruin upon the elves. These include the closing of the ways to the sea, overseen by Morlhoss, the unhoused spirit of an elf seeking vengeance against the Galadrim, a trap designed to lure Elrond Half-Elven out of Imladris, prepared by the weasel spirit Cothlin, and a scheme to incite strife between the elves of Lindon and their neighbors, the dwarves, orchestrated through the manipulation of the resentful elf Arblod. Each ploy includes a number of potential strokes, events or undertakings that advance the Dark Lord's agenda. They are listed under the Dark Designs headings in each section, in a chronological tale of years format. The lore master should take these entries into consideration to incorporate them into a company's adventuring or fellowship phases, as rumors, for example, using the suggestions provided and assessing how the deeds of the player heroes might influence these plans. By taking action against these strokes during an adventuring phase, the company can prevent the danger from escalating. Not every dark design needs to be incorporated into a campaign. Many tales outlined in this chapter can remain as possibilities. Some groups may choose to ignore certain stories altogether, while others could be introduced as news from distant parts of the land. For instance, if a campaign focuses on adventures by the shores of the Great Sea, then the attacks of orcs and wargs over the Misty Mountains may be used simply as tales carried by travelers journeying west. With him I may have business of my own ere all is over. The plots in this chapter feature various lore master characters and events, yet they are designed for you to customize, placing the player heroes as the protagonists of the story. To achieve this, feel free to modify backstories, replace a lore master character with a player hero, or connect someone in the company to a key character. In Perils of the Last Road, an elven player hero may have previously met Lindon, either as a friend or a rival. In Memories of Ancient Wounds, Cothlin may have been responsible for the loss of a loved one of an elf from Rivendell. In Old Hatreds May Still Breed War, Norritel or Arblod may be friends or former love interests of an elf from Lindon. Involving the player heroes with the lore master's characters not only motivates them to fight for the freedom of Middle-earth from the Shadow, but also adds personal stakes to their quest. Alright, so today we will be covering Perils of the Last Road, which is the first of the three plots of Sauron to defeat the elves in Middle-earth. And I've heard tell that elves are moving west. They do say they are going to the harbors, out away beyond the White Towers. Year after year, more elves leave. When they sense their time in Middle-earth has ended, they set out from their homes, traveling west toward the sea, along hidden roads and secret paths, until they find the grey ships to carry them to the utmost west. Recently, however, rumors have grown that the journey to the sea is becoming unsafe. Orcs and goblins, wargs, trolls, wargs, trolls, and bandits now plague the roads, while landslides and floods erase ancient pathways. Initially, these events seem like unrelated accidents, but what if a malicious will is orchestrating them? What if the last road is closed, trapping the elves in their own homes and denying them the peace of Eldamar, the westward journey? It is agreed among the wise that the ultimate destiny of the Eldar is to dwell in the Undying Lands, also known as Eldamar or Elvenhome by men, under the protection and blessing of the Valar, whereas Middle-earth is fated to become the realm of men. However, the elves themselves tend to disagree about the timing of their departure. Some believe that the age of the Eldar is already over and that they should not linger too long on the shores. Others argue that no deadline has been set by fate and are determined to savor as much of Middle-earth as they can while there is still time. Then we have this beautiful piece of artwork here. There's the Valar who seems to be overseeing this. When they finally make that fateful decision, the elves leave their homes and join companies of pilgrims traveling to the Grey Havens, often crossing great distances. Upon reaching the western shores, they formally request passage from the Lord of the Haven, offering gifts that will be used to build and equip a grey ship. The crossing of the sea is a one-way voyage, and those who embark must learn to govern a ship as theirs is built. Sometimes, pilgrims choose to delay their departure. The elves of Mithlond have a term for this, Hadhanan, which means waiting for the sunset, but also delaying the west. This term describes the contrasting emotions of lingering until the final moment of light, akin to someone watching a sunset over the sea to witness the dying of the light as the sun sinks below the horizon. That's actually a smart term for it. I like it. In recent years, the word has spread and taken on a new meaning, the plight of those who waited too long, whose ship has departed without them. Soon, some fear, there will come a day when all roads west will be barred. Others whisper that this day has already arrived. A quiet, frightening desperation is spreading among the Galadrim. Evil things on the road. One of Sauron's most cunning schemes began with the wayward soul of an elf. After meeting a violent end, a young wood elf named Lindon found himself without a body, unwilling to pass in silence to the halls of Mandos. He felt he had not experienced enough of Middle-earth, and chose to linger for many centuries in the vale of the Anduin River. From afar, he observed those he had known in life without revealing his presence. In particular, he followed the exploits of Feloth, a beautiful elf maiden whom he had once loved but had been unable to win over in life. As decades passed, solitude began to take its toll on Lindon. A growing sense of regret for those who were still living consumed him, filling him with increasing resentment towards those he had once known, who now seemed to have forgotten him. It was at this time that the necromancer of Dol Guldur became aware of Lindon, and managed to lure him, the unhoused spirit, under the dark eaves of Mirkwood, binding him with sorcery. In the dungeons of Amon Lank, Sauron tortured him and fed him a web of cunning lies, ultimately twisting his mind into deep bitterness and hatred for all living beings. Lindorn's torment was long, and when it finally ended, the unhoused spirit no longer remembered his own name. Sauron bestowed upon him a new name, Moralhos, the Dark Whisper. Eventually, he was sent flying across the Anduin to spy on the elves and aid all the servants of the Dark Lord in chasing and hunting them down, no matter what path they walked or rode. From the eaves of Lothlorien to the passes of the Misty Mountains, across Holland and the fells of Rudar, and into the grasslands and woods of Eriador, Moralhos flies like a black wind. Paths once thought safe are now plagued by orcs, brigands, and trolls, while wolves howl in the night as they chase elven travelers. No refuge seems secure from these troubles, and those who set out for the sea seldom reach it, leaving behind only tattered cloaks, blood-stained jewels, and white bones for other wanderers to discover. Creepy. Alright. Waylayers and pilgrims. Moralhos has been endowed with sorceress powers by his master, and he is not alone in his mission. Powerful minions have been placed at his service. Fortunately, the player heroes may encounter unexpected allies as they strive to oppose the Dark Whisper. Moralhos the Dark Whisper. Moralhos met his tragic end in an accident. In an attempt to impress Feloth, the elf maiden who had previously rejected him, he leapt from the high branches of a mighty Melorn tree into the waters of the Anduin, never to resurface. Now he serves as a thrall to the Shadow, an unhoused spirit twisted to the Dark Lord's will after years of sorceress torture. Consumed by a terrible jealousy towards the living, his envy is particularly directed at the fair immortal elves. Deep inside Moralhos, a flicker of his former identity as the young Lindon still survives. Choked by bitterness, these memories manifest as an obsessive drive to find Feloth. See Dark Designs of Moralhos on page 64. So far, he has been unable to locate her because, unbeknownst to him, Pheloth is hidden in Lorien. The boundaries of that realm remain impenetrable to Morelhas due to the protection of the Ring of Water. However, if memories of his past identity can be revived, it's possible that Morelhas might be convinced that redemption awaits him should he leave Middle-earth and return to Elvenhome. The fate of Morelhas and the chance to rid Middle-earth of his dark influence rests entirely on the actions of the player heroes. Should they see Morelhas in his form as a drowned elf, they might uncover the story of his tragic demise and eventually piece together his true identity as Lindon. Armed with this knowledge, they could search for Pheloth and bring her to him. In the presence of his lost love, Morelhas might find the strength to unravel the Dark Lord's web of lies and pursue the path of redemption. Alternatively, Pheloth could be persuaded to board a grey ship and leave Middle-earth, with the object of his obsession forever beyond his grasp. Morelhas would finally see no option but to abandon the circles of this world. Then we have a stat block for him. Let's read this little blurb about Unhoused Spirit. Morelhas is an invisible, unhoused spirit. Thanks to the Dark Lord's teaching, he possesses the ability to weave illusions and conjure visions within the minds of his enemies, as well as to stir all evil beings to action. Those who can perceive him see Morelhas as a young elf with a cold, vengeful light in his eyes. His complexion is deathly pale and his lips are blue, resembling those of a drowned corpse. When he becomes aware of someone gazing upon his true form, Morelhas recoils in shame and tends to flee. Being an immoral spirit, Morelhas cannot be truly destroyed. If defeated, his essence disperses, only to reform years later in some remote location. So let's take a peek at the stat block. And then I might have to take a break to go feed my baby. Alright. So he is a medium undead creature, which makes sense. He's got no strength, a strength of 1. His intelligence is his second lowest stat at only 10. Not terrible, but not the greatest. His Constitution and Wisdom are both at 14, so perfectly adequate. And then Dexterity and Charisma share his top spot for a 16 in each. He's got an AC of 13 and 39 hit points, so kind of a lower defensive CR. For skills, he is proficient in Perception and Stealth, so a +A in Perception and a +6 in Stealth. He's got a 30-foot hover speed. Damage resistances. He's resistant to radiant damage, which is interesting for an undead creature. Bludgeoning, piercing, and that aren't enchanted with spells for the Bane of the Undead, which makes sense. Immunities. He's immune to cold, necrotic, and poison, and bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. He is immune to the to the following conditions: charmed, exhaustion, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained. All completely in line with a undead ghost creature. He's got true sight out to 120 feet and a passive perception of 18. Let me just mark that my baby's awake here. I will have to take a break here to go take care of him, to feed him. Languages, he speaks Black Speech, Sindarin, and Western, and he is a CR5. So he's got the following features. Deathless. If damage reduces Moral Hoss to 0 hit points, he must make a Constitution saving throw with a DC of 5 plus the damage taken, unless the damage is from a weapon enchanted with the spells for the Bane of the Undead. On a success, Moral Hoss drops to 1 hit point instead. I always like that feature. It gives a little bit of challenge to some of the undead creatures that you see players go up against. Immortal Spirit. If Moral Hoss is destroyed, he reappears in 1d10 years and regains all his hit points. Incorporeal movement. Moral Hoss can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. He takes 1d10 force damage if it ends if it ends its turn inside an object. Invisible. Moral Hoss is invisible. He becomes invisible for 1 minute to any creature he becomes visible for 1 minute to any creature that obtains a magical success on a perception check. That's actually pretty powerful. He's just constantly invisible, which means he is making his attacks at advantage all the time, and his enemies, those attacking him, are constantly making it at disadvantage. Alright, actions. Spell of Slumber. So this is a Recharge 6 ability. So for those of you that aren't aware of recharge abilities, you roll a 1d6. Some of them recharge on like a 5 or a 6, or like a 3, 4, 5, 6, or a 4, 5, 6. Having this be a recharge 6, there's a 1 in 6 chance of them regaining this ability at the start of their turn. So Moral Hoss chooses up to 3 creatures he can see within 60 feet of him. Each target gains 1 shadow point resisted by a DC 14 intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, a target falls asleep and is unconscious for 1 minute. It wakes up if it takes any damage or if another creature takes an action to shake it awake. Elves, wizards, and creatures that don't sleep or have immunity to the exhaustion condition automatically succeed on saves against this spell. Okay, so this is basically the sleep spell, except it doesn't roll the hit points for it, which is important because that makes it like a better sleep spell. So I like that we're gaining a shadow point. It gives a little bit of a threat of challenge to this stat block. Elves being immune to it makes it more likely that if you were running a campaign, some of your characters, depending on your campaign material, will select hobbits or rangers or dwarves. There's an opportunity, or there's a chance that they won't select an elf. But if you are specifically selecting to play a campaign in one of the locations from this book, so Lindon, Lothlorien, or Rivendell, you're going to probably have at least one, if not more, elven characters. With Moral Hoss being a creature specifically designed to target elves, I would have liked to see this be a little bit more powerful. Like maybe elves make the roll at advantage or something like that. But yeah. All right, Visions of Torment. Moralhaus chooses a non-undead creature he can see within 60 feet of him. The target gains 3 shadow points. Ooh. Resisted by a DC 14 Charisma saving throw. If the target is unconscious, it has disadvantage on the saving throw. Ooh. On a failed save, the target takes 4d10 psychic damage and is frightened until the end of Moralhaus's next turn. If the save fails by 5 or more, the target is also stunned while frightened this way. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage, isn't frightened, and is immune to Moralhaus's Visions of Torment for the next 24 hours. So, Moralhaus walks up. He's invisible. He rolls his stealth, or you use, his passive stealth. You could definitely get away with a huge passive stealth, considering he's invisible and he's got +6 to stealth. Depending on the level that you throw this person against. He's a CR5, so theoretically you could have like level 3 or 4 characters go up against him. Going to start off by the Spell of Slumber against 3 characters. You probably have a party of 4 characters, but assuming that one of them is an elf, you just target the 3 non-elf characters in the party. Let's say 2 of them fail their DC 14 int save. They fall unconscious. They gain a shadow point. Now they are asleep until either the other characters are taken out of commission, or those characters waste their action economy to shake their fellow player heroes awake, which helps with the survivability of this stat block. Next turn, he goes and he targets one of these creatures. So assuming that, let's assume that 2 of them fall asleep, one's an elf, one succeed on their saving throw. So 2 of them are awake, 2 asleep. One of your characters might choose to attack this creature, maybe thinking, oh, maybe it's concentration. Because this is Lord of the Rings 5e. It is not D&D 5e specifically. It's a variant of D&D. So because of that, your characters don't necessarily know what exactly he's doing here. So they might be like, oh, let's try and break his concentration. Maybe it's concentration. He goes and he tries to attack this creature, who is probably still invisible. So he's making this attack at disadvantage. Your other character may wake up one of them. Let's pretend that they wake up one of them just for the scenario. You still have one person unconscious. Next turn, Moralhaus goes and he targets that still unconscious creature. They make the disadvantage saving throw DC 14 Charisma save. They take 4d10 psychic damage, gain 3 shadow points, are frightened, and let's pretend that they're also stunned. Let's pretend that they failed so bad that they're also stunned. Holy man, that is a lot of fun all at once. That's a lot of fun all at once. I like it. I really, really like it. Oh, but is that the end of his stat block? Okay. So that's the end of his stat block. There is no other actions available to him, which I like the flavor of this, but here's the thing. On the bomb here, on a successful save, they are now immune to this for the next 24 hours. So you can only get, if your characters all succeed on this, you have a max of 4 rounds of using this Visions of Torment. A maximum. If all your characters succeed, you won't be able to have like a long drawn out combat. We will obviously be using Spell of Slumber to at the beginning for your very first round of combat. We will probably get it recharged on other rounds during the combat. But it's still, Moralhaus is probably going to end up leaving the combat fairly soon after it starts. I would have liked to see like a claw attack or something, like something, especially for like an opportunity attack kind of thing, so that when creatures are leaving his melee, he slashes at them, or maybe he has like an aura, a damaging aura if they come within like 5 feet or 10 feet of him. That would have been nice. Let's see how this compares. Let's see how these stats compare to a proper CR5. Just loading up here. My little cheat sheet chart. All right. For some reason, it's not loading up. There we go. All right. So let's take a peek. So a CR5 usually has an AC of about 15 and 131 to 145 hit points. This is an AC of 13 with 39 hit points. 39 being more of like a CR 1/4. And even like the AC is more of a CR 1/4 kind of thing. So defensively, this is a CR 1/4, which is not very very attacky. But let's see what the damage per round is. So let's see. None of this stuff. Oh, he does have the Deathless though. So let's see. Let's go 39 hit points. AC, he uses saves. What's his DC? His DC is a 14 for those saves. He does have some resistances and immunities, so we'll say he's got immunities, because save proficiencies, he's got none. We could have actually given him like a couple save proficiencies. Even 2 would have been fine. Constitution is a 14. $68. Does he have any vulnerabilities? He does not. Alright, so damage per round. So, really the only damage he does is this one here. And it's only one target. So that's 4d10, which is an average of 22. Let's see. 22 damage per round is only like a CR3. But then I add in the Undead Fortitude, which is the if he drops to 0 HP, he makes a save, and then he might drop to 1 HP instead. So that does bump up his defensive CR from a CR 1/4 all the way up to a CR 2. But with that damage per round, all this considered, he is an offensive CR 3 and a defensive CR 2 for a total CR of CR 3. He is not a CR 5. Oh, but he's invisible. Actually, let's add in that he's invisible. Does that change anything? That changes nothing. Being invisible changes absolutely nothing about this. Yeah. So, he's got an effective HP of 85, effective AC of 17. But to get this up, we need to really bump up that damage per round. We should be sitting at between 33 to 38 damage per round for CR5. And with 4d10, that's only an average of 22. We honestly, adding in a claw attack or an aura, I think adding in the aura would be the most feasible, because I think that the reason that they didn't add in an attack is because he's got no strength. But he's dexterous, so they could have theoretically done something with his dexterity. But I think it's supposed to be because he's incorporeal. I think adding in an aura, like a cold aura or a necrotic aura, I think the cold would be cool with his with his drowned background. I think that would have been cool. But anywho, we can review that again, or we can definitely bump that up. So let's see. If I wanted to do I'd like to do some yeah, we'll pretend it's heated body. I want to do like, I don't know, like 15 damage. Yeah, doing 15 damage with the heated body bumps it up. So touching or hitting the creature within 5 feet of it causes damage. So you just do cold damage instead. And then to bump up that defensive CR, we need to really increase those hit points. So let's make it like, I don't know, 12d8? No, that's too much. 10d8. 9d8? Yeah. So if we do 98 with a constitution of 14, that gives us 58 hit points, which bumps up his defensive CR to 5. That's what I would do to make this a proper CR5. Take it with a grain of salt. I am not a absolute professional when I shouldn't say absolute professional. I am not 100% without fault when it comes to making homebrew and balancing homebrew. But I do know quite a bit about it, more than some people do. And these are the things I would do to fix this stat block so it's a true CR5. All right. We need to take a 20-minute break here. I realize that's a long time, but my baby has woken up and requires me to feed him. So I'm going to take a break to try and feed him back to sleep. When we return, we will go to Zagruk, the voice from beyond, which should be an interesting one. All right, see you guys all in about 20 minutes. Alright, I am back. Baby decided not to sleep. So we will be cutting our stream short today. I don't know how short. It will depend on how long Baby decides he's happy playing beside me for. Yeah. Alright, so get ready for some cute baby noises in the background and potential music because he's got a little piano. Alright, so back from break. We just finished talking about our little ghosty friend. Now we will go into Zagruk, the voice from beyond. Yeah. Alright. And by the way, maybe I should unblur my background. It is starting to get very beautiful outside, turning into a nice, sunny winter day. All right. Zagruk, the voice from beyond. Zagruk was born in the Orc Pits under Goblin Gate, but was brought to Dol Guldur as a child. Thanks to his unusual cunning, he quickly gained the favor of the necromancer and was chosen to serve as a living companion to Moralhaus. There, he learned sorcery and the art of concocting deadly poisons. Ooh, a poisoner. The orc is Moralhaus's counterpart in the scene world. It is with him that the elf spirit communicates most frequently and effectively, using the Mask of Spirits, C-Box. At times, Moralhaus takes direct control of Zagruk's body, enabling him to speak and interact with the living. However, this also makes Moralhaus vulnerable to harm. Okay, so you pair the two stat blocks together, I guess. Someone for him to possess. Zagruk is considered evil and ill-tempered even by orcish standards. His skin... Excuse me. His skin is unevenly patched with irregular pale spots, and his face and hands are scarred with sorcerous runes of power. He walks hunched over, relying on staff topped with an owl skull for support. Among his possessions is a red stone pendant shaped like a Malorn flower, inscribed with the name Pheloth on one side. Lindon stole this pendant from his beloved, and it was found on his body when his corpse was washed up on the banks of the Anduin. Zagruk believes that the pendant binds Moralhaus to his loyalty to Sauron, and carries it in a pouch at all times. So this is Zagruk. Very cool artwork. I love it. It's beautiful. There's just such cool artwork in here. Yeah, isn't there? There is. Alright. Do you want the back country? Want this? There you go. You can have that. I gotta give my baby toys. Or, not toys, but stuff that he wants to play with. Which is non-toys. Yeah. Alright. Let's take a peek at this stat block. So this is a CR3, supposedly. He is a medium humanoid of the orcish variety. His lowest score is charisma with a 8. Yeah. Then we've got his strength at a 12. Dex, Con, and Wisdom are all even at a 14. And then Intelligence is his highest stat with a 16. He's got an AC of 15 and 52 hit points, which is actually surprising. Defensively, he's already a little higher than Moralhaus is. And he's got a speed of 30 feet. For skills he's proficient in, he is proficient in Intimidation for a +3, Insight, Perception, and Stealth, all for a +4. He's got immunity to the charm condition, with no other resistances, immunities, or vulnerabilities. Yeah. You guys can probably hear the cute baby. Yeah. He's got a backcountry map. He's happy with that. All right, let's take a peek at his features. Nimble Escape. Zagruk can take the disengage or hide action as a bonus action on each of its turns. Poisoner. A creature that takes poison damage from Zagruk must succeed on a DC 13 con save or be poisoned for 1 hour. While poisoned this way, the target can't regain hit points and has disadvantage on death saving throws. If the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the target is also unconscious while poisoned in this way. The target wakes up if it takes damage or if another creature takes an action to shake it awake, which is kind of nice, because when we compare that with Moral Haas's stat block, if the target is unconscious, it has disadvantage on the saving throw. So if you put these two together, anyone that he has that has gone unconscious while poisoned can then be targeted by Moral Haas more effectively. Sneak Attack, once per turn. Zagruk deals an extra 2d6 damage when it hits a target with a weapon attack and has advantage on the attack roll, or when the target is within 5 feet of an ally of Zagruk that isn't incapacitated and Zagruk doesn't have disadvantage on the attack roll. Sunlight Sensitivity. While in sunlight, Zagruk has disadvantage on attack rolls as well as perception checks that rely on sight. Unarmored Defense. While Zagruk is wearing no armor and wielding no shield, his AC includes his intelligence modifier. Okay, so that's why it's a 15, I guess. Alright, let's get into his actions. So he seems to be more the hitty type. He's got multi-attack, so Zagruk makes 2 melee attacks or 1 melee attack and 1 ranged attack. So his ranged attack is Poison Concoction. This is a +5 to hit, range of 30 feet, long range of 90 feet, and it's one target. The target takes 1d12 poison damage. Okay. And then Poisoned Knife. This is his melee attack, reach of 5 feet, +5 to hit. It does 1d4 plus 3 slashing damage plus 1d6 poison damage. It doesn't actually say... Oh, okay. So when a creature takes poison damage, they make the DC 13 con save. I kind of wish that they threw that into the actual actions there, but it's fair enough. I guess it's a bit long. Did you drop this? Hey? There you go. Baby stream. All right. Okay, so this is kind of underwhelming. Let's see how it compares for CR3. So, CR3, AC is usually 13 with hit points 101 to 115. So his hit points are a little, not a little, they're quite a bit under the target range. His AC is slightly higher though, which might account for it. Let's reset this so that I can do the proper calculations here. So he is 8d8. So let's go 8d8. He's got a constitution of 14. 8d8, constitution 14, AC of 15. And this should be 52. Alright, so let's see. He doesn't have any resistances or immunities. I'm not accounting for the charm condition immunity because that's just a freebie. He does use some save proficiencies with the DC 13, but he's more about his 2-hit. So we will just put his attack bonus, which is a +5. Let's see. So typically for CR3, we're looking at a +4 to hit with 21 to 26 damage per round. Let's see. So he's got... Where did your map go? Are you looking for this? There you go. Alright. So we've got sunlight sensitivity. Let's just see it. Does that make any... No, that doesn't make any difference on anything. He does have nimble escape, so we'll turn that on. What does that do to us? Does that bump up anything? I think it bumps up his AC. Yeah, it bumps up his effective AC by 4. So his effective AC is now 19, which might account for why he's a CR3 with that few hit points, but we'll see. What else do we have? We've got multi-attack. So let's see. We've got 3 plus 5, so that is an average of 8 damage. So we will say that he's doing 2 poison knives per attack. So that's 8, 16, plus his once per turn 2d6, so that's 7. So that is 23 damage per round on average. So let's see, does he have any other things that I'm not accounting for? I think that that's it. So actually, doing all these calculations, he's actually not too bad. So he does 23 damage per round, which is right in the range of a CR3, 21 to 26. His AC of 15, with the fact that he's got nimble escape, puts his effective AC at 19. And even though his HP is only 52, which for CR3 is usually 101 to 115, with that effective AC, it bumps up his defensive CR quite a bit. So for a defensive CR, he's a perfect CR3. Offensive CR, he's a CR5. So this is calculating him at a CR4 rank. I think personally, with his sunlight sensitivity, I think that makes him slightly less offensive. It's not really attributed to his offensive CR, but I would say that would make him a perfect CR3. So I think that he is perfectly adequate for the CR3 range. One moment, I need to grab a map. Hey, look. unfolds. I might also give him like a sticky note. I need to keep my baby entertained while I stream. I bestow upon you and put that there. All right. Entertaining baby with sticky notes and microphone sock. Let's go to Vorog, the elf hunter. Or wait. Before we do that, let's go to the Mask of Spirits, because this is something that Zagruk apparently has. Zagruk received this sorceress artifact upon his appointment as companion to Moralhaus. It is a monstrous iron mask forged long ago in the dark lands beyond Mordor. By wearing it while performing a necromantic ritual taught to him by the necromancer, Zagruk can allow Moralhaus to possess his body. When this occurs, the cold and distant voice of the unhoused spirit emerges from Zagruk's mouth. While possessing Zagruk's body, Moralhaus controls it. His game statistics are replaced by the stat block of Zagruk, but he retains his int, whiz, and charisma scores, his skill proficiencies, his spell of slumber, and his visions of torment. The possession ends if Moralhaus ends it, no action required, or if Zagruk's body dies. Okay. I like that actually. So that actually would, I think, bump up the CR of Moralhaus, because Moralhaus being a CR5, he wasn't really fitting the CR5 criteria there. But if he possessed Zagruk, that might be enough to bump him to a CR5. So if you were running this, I would definitely get Zagruk to, have the party come across Zagruk completing the ritual, and then have him become possessed and have the players deal with that. All right. Vorog, the elf hunter. Vorog is a ruthless orc chieftain, renowned among his followers for slaying a massive warg that insulted him during a raid. The orc chieftain slayed a warg. In a display of brutal strength and skill, Vorog defeated the beast by driving his dagger into its open mouth. Vorog's most recent streak of victories is attributed to his alliance with Zagruk and his invisible master, Moralhaus, the Dark Whisper. Zagruk has equipped Vorog and his orcs with valuable and reliable predictions regarding enemy movements, especially those of the hated elves. Vorog is unaware of Moralhaus's nature and believes him to be another sinister servant of the Dark Lord. Which he kind of is, because he doesn't even know what his true nature is. Yeah. You're so cute. Did you drop your sticky note? Oh no. Here, have a sticky note. Yeah. Have another sticky note. I have so many. We're just gonna do some sticky noting. One moment. Just putting sticky notes all around my baby. Alright. There we go. Okay. Where were we? Let's see what the stat block is for Vorog. So he's supposed to be a CR3, another CR3. So his lowest scores are Intelligence and Wisdom, both at 10. Next up, we've got Dex, Con, and Charisma, all at 14. And his highest score is Strength with a 16, which is good because thus far the two stat blocks we've read are severely lacking in Strength. He has an AC of 17, so he's got Orc Mail and a Shield, hit points of 52, and a speed of 30. He's proficient in Insight and Intimidation, Insight only being a +2, and Intimidation being a +4. Actually, he's really only proficient in Intimidation. Insight, he just gets a +2, I guess, because of his Charisma. He's got Dark Vision out to 120 feet and Passive Perception of 10. He speaks Orcish and Western. Let's go into his features. Horrible Strength. A melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when Vorog hits with it, included in the attack. He's also got Sneak Attack. Vorog deals an extra 2d6 damage when it hits a target with a weapon attack and has advantage on the attack roll, or when the target is within 5 feet of an ally of Vorog that isn't incapacitated and Vorog doesn't have disadvantage on the attack roll. And of course, Sunlight Sensitivity. When in sunlight, Vorog has disadvantage on attack rolls as well as perception checks that rely on sight. Going into his actual actions. So he's actually got a reaction. So he's got Parry. Vorog adds 2 to its AC against 1 melee attack that would hit it. To do so, Vorog must see the attacker and be wielding a melee weapon. How did you take off all those sticky notes? I love baby. I love my baby. Actions. So Vorog has multi-attack, so he can take 2 melee attacks or 1 melee attack and 1 ranged attack. And he's got some options. Oh goodness. Alright, so Scimitar, his first melee attack. This is a +5 to hit with a reach of 5. It does 2d6 plus 3 slashing damage. Then we've got Shield Bash. Melee weapon attack +5 with a reach of 5 against one creature. We do 2d4 plus 3 bludgeoning damage. If the target is medium or smaller, it must succeed on a DC 13 strength save or be knocked prone. So he can shield bash you and then attack you with his scimitar. And he would get his sneak attack off because it would be made at advantage because you're prone. Then we've got his spear, which is melee or ranged. So it's a +5 to hit. Melee reach is 5 feet, or ranged is 20 for regular range and 60 for long range. Against one target, it's 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage, or 2d8 plus 3 piercing damage if used in 2 hands to make a melee attack. So if you are using 2 hands, you gotta take away his shield, so his AC would go down from 17 to 15. Yell of Triumph. So he can only do this once per long rest. Each creature of Vorog's choice that is within 30 feet of it and can hear it gains advantage on attack rolls and intimidation checks until the start of Vorog's next turn. Vorog can then make 1 attack as a bonus action. That's cool. So he yells all his allies. He could have tons of allies within 30 feet of him. There's no stipulation about the limit. So really, you come in with your group of orcs, he yells, and then bonus action attacks, and then your combat gets off, and they disperse to do their attacks, which is a really, really powerful start to a combat. I like it. All right, so let's take a peek at whether Vorog fits the CR3 criteria, and then we're going to call it there so that I can take care of this little adorable boy. Yeah. Where did that sock go? Okay. So, let's calculate this out. Reset again. Alright, so let's see if Vorog is actually a CR3. Loading. Alright, so we expect him to be a CR3. Hit points is 52 with an AC of 17. He's using his attack bonus, which is a +5 to hit. And he is 8d8, oops, 8d8 with a con of 14. All right. No resistances, immunities, or vulnerabilities. He's got no save proficiencies. They could have bumped him up to have a few save proficiencies. Let's calculate his damage per round. So, he has multi-attack, so let's take a peek. I think doing his... Really doing his... let's see, 2d8, that's 12. No, we're going to say that he's going to do his, what would that be? That's 20 damage, 27 damage. All right. Alright, we gotta go pretty quick here. Baby's not happy. So, if we do, let's just say we do 2 scimitar attacks, and let's say one of them gets sneak attack. So that's 7 for the sneak attack, average of 10, 20 for 2 scimitar attacks, puts us at 27 damage per round. Let's see. If I add in that he's got parry, that does bump his defensive CR up a little bit. So right now he's coming out as a defensive CR2, offensive CR4 for a perfect CR3. If I did, though, let's try lowering him to AC of 15. Let's say he takes off his shield so that he can use his spear, which is 12, 24, and then let's say we get his extra attack in, which is 31. that would put us at a defensive CR of 1 with an offensive CR 4, which still comes out as a CR 3. So he's actually really, really well balanced. All right. Very cool. All right, so really the only stat block of these 3 is that Moral Hoss. And if you pair Moral Hoss with Zagruk to have Moral Hoss possess his body, I think that solves the issues with him being a underpowered CR5. But this will have to be the end of my stream today. I have a lovely little boy with me who needs my attention. He didn't sleep as late as he usually sleeps on these days. But I appreciate everyone who has stopped by the stream today, everyone who has watched the VOD after the fact. Any new followers, I appreciate all of you. I will likely be returning to stream again tomorrow. So if you guys want to read some more about the Perils of the Last Road, we will be going through a bit more stat blocks tomorrow, and with any luck, we will have time to get into the dark timeline for this story beat. So I will see you guys tomorrow, probably about 8 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow, but we'll play it by ear. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe, follow on YouTube and Twitch. I am also on Blue Sky. You can follow me there for any updates about my streaming. Without further ado, thank you guys. Take care.